singer was booted off the X Factor 2 years ago when it was revealed she had a history of violence. Yes, that's true.
Leave my bands alone.
See, I got all your bands.
OK, now, singer CC Jugolev was kicked out of the X Factor 2 years ago after producers found she had an outstanding conviction for assaulting a restaurant worker. We're into the last bit of the last Right Stuff of the week. We're asking if wrong-uns should be barred from appearing on TV talent shows. David, Amanda and Scott will give their thoughts in just a moment. Yours too on the usual number, please. 0207 173 5555. One of the stars on last week's X Factor was 16-year-old Curtis Moore from Worcestershire. Before singing a cover of Mario's Let Me Love You, Curtis, who I have to say was in care for 4 years, gave host Dermot O'Leary a flash of his electronic tag. Now, contrite he may have sounded, but Curtis's cheekiness in front of the judges earned him a slapdown from Simon Cowell. Then yesterday, The Sun published snaps of the wannabe star posing with a knife, while people from his hometown of Redditch have come forward to say they were terrified of his gang. Now, Curtis, for his part, has said he regrets his past and hopes appearing on The X Factor can help him leave his old life behind. What if he wins? You could argue he only got there by exploiting his tag and his dodgy past. That's how he got some attention. And there are some people that have been saying to me that they reckon he wouldn't have got such a big show in the programme last week if he hadn't had a tag. Show bosses are standing by him, just as they stood by former drug addict Rachel Hilton in last year's contest, despite her spending time in prison for burglary. And I'm beginning to wonder if they're right to do so. Now, the show's watched by young people. What kind of message does this show out to those thousands, millions of impressionable viewers? And what if Curtis doesn't win? Right, his hopes become dashed. Will he then return to criminal behaviour? Only time's going to tell. Now, strict rules ban newspapers for paying criminals for their story, but TV execs are, in effect, opening the door for Curtis to make millions as the pop star with a tag. I'm all for second chances, but I'm against rewarding antisocial behaviour, and I think Curtis and the X Factor, it starts to become slightly blurred, Scott. That distinction.
Oh, well, I think what you just said, I agree. I mean, everyone has made mistakes, and I think that his contrite behaviour, we have to take at face value the way we take the rest of the show. And I think that he's a talented kid who's had a rough past and a rough upbringing, and he didn't have the advantages some of the middle-class people on the panel might have had.
You don't want to be pointing at Amanda and saying that.
No.
She grew up in a council estate in Southampton.
Grew up in a council estate, and it was Portsmouth, not Southampton.
I didn't mean her at all. I was just doing a gesture because I'm middle-class. I grew up in musicals. But anyway... But no, I think that, you know, we have to give the kid a break. He's a kid still,
Now, OK,
you know?
what about the role of the TV executives in this? Do you not feel there's just a little bit of exploitation going on here? Look, it's the singer with the tag.
But there is with all the shows.
I've done 2 reality shows, and they have writers follow you around and build a narrative for you, especially if you're boring like me. They have to build a story. This kid comes with a story, right? He comes with a tag. I mean, you know, we know way too much about one another anyway. I think the less we know about celebrities, the better off we are. I mean, I'm a big Barbra Streisand fan, big surprise.
No.
But yes, I know.
Do you like Judy Garland as well?
Love her, but anyway. But the more I read about them, and I read about them all the time, the more kind of ashamed I am about my celebrity things.
But it seems with all of these reality shows, particularly the single ones, unless you have some kind of story, i.e. your wife's just died of cancer and you've got 3 kids and you have to go on and sing, or you're mentally challenged, or you've got a tag, or whatever, no one ever gets there on pure talent alone anymore.
Including the judges, of course, because one of them has a conviction for assault, doesn't she? Mild-mannered Cheryl Cole.
But the bizarre thing is he's not going to win in any case because he's got to be in at 9 o'clock. The X Factor doesn't finish till 10. So what's he
David, second chances or exploitation?
Yeah, I mean, I was really against this until I saw the VT. I know, and you have to. You're right. You have to take it at face value. What I have a bigger. The show is a show. They have a story, a narrative. That's how it works. I have a bigger issue with the tagging. Actually, you know, I have a huge problem with tagging because I know that a lot of people get round it, and I don't think it's the sort of punishment that should be measured out. I don't think it's that.
But the prisons are all full with ex-servicemen, so
well, the prisons are full because we didn't invest in them. But there are much bigger issues in society, and I just
do you think the TV show was exploiting the fact that he
Yes,
has a tag.
absolutely. But also, you've got to remember, whenever I speak to loads of young people, they all want to be famous. They all want to... And it just reinforces the fact you can do things that are wrong and be famous.
I want to hear from our audience. We haven't spoken to them. You've got some youngsters with you, or young
We do. They're all young performing arts students, so they might be on these shows one of these days. But Daniel, what do you think about this?
I think you've just got to be careful. I mean, you know, there's young kids who watch that show and, like you said, I mean, you can't go through an industry like that and think that it's OK to do something like that. The young kids might see that, think it's OK, you know, and I just think you've got to be careful, and especially, like, the victim of that person. I mean, if they saw that guy on the TV who he's burgled, then they're not exactly going to be happy with that. I mean, you know.
They've almost glamorised it. You know, there's Dermot, so tell me about your tag, and they play all the music on it. And if I was a young kid, I'd be thinking, the only way to win X Factor is to...
It's TV, and everybody has to have a story.
It's exploitive. And also, I just think the kids watch the show because they want to be entertained by the music. They don't... The individual stories, I don't know that they get that caught up in. I mean, especially...
Oh, no, they do. Look at Sumo.
Not over the long haul, because by the time it gets down to 1 or 2 or 3 acts that are competing against each other, it's really about their talent.
Let me take a call as well, please. Kirsty, let's have some...
Catherine, and she's on line 1.
What do you think, Catherine?
Hi.
Hi there. Is there any wrongdoing going on here? Should this guy Curtis have been allowed on the show?
No, I don't believe he should have done. I mean, to be honest with you, what is it showing our country, the fact that these kids can go out and do something horrific to anybody, and then actually go on an X Factor show and then go, oh, look at me, I've done this, and how bad am I, you know? But he turned around and actually said, I've been calmed down the last couple of years, I wouldn't be on a tag.
If he wasn't wearing the tag, OK, he'd gone through that stage of probation, would we have had a problem then?
I think, to be honest with you, always research what's going on with anyone who's on that show. There are other people on there that they've researched and come up with things. And I think no matter what, if he'd been done for burglary without the tag, I still would have been against him.
OK, Catherine, I've got to cut in. We are all out of time. That's it. Goodbye to you, Scott. I'm sorry. Trish has to come. It's got to go. We've got to go. You don't miss him. Scott Capurro, sticking it to me in his live show. Scott Capurro's position.
October
Next
1st,
Thursday, London's Vauxhall Tavern. David and Amanda, it's been a truly fantastic week. I've loved every second. And thank you folks, for keeping us supplied with those endless photos of compromising positions featuring a good doctor. Give it up for the panel, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, Craig Revel-Horde and Diamond on the panel. Special guests include Adam Hart-Davis and the pop icon Lamar. Let's hope he's not too shy, eh? It's our watch today. See you Monday 9:15. Have a nice weekend.